Welcome to Middle Math Academy, Unit Rate and Unit Price Level Number 1. If you're looking for more unit rate and unit price practice, feel free to check out levels 2 through 5. Our learning targets today are: I can calculate the unit rate and unit cost, I can determine the better deal by calculating the unit cost, and I can compare unit rates. Pause the video and take a minute to rate yourself on these learning targets before the lesson. How confident do you feel about these? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. After we practice some more and at the end of the lesson, we'll come back and you'll rate yourself again. Our opening problem says, Steve wants to buy apples for the cheapest price. Which grocery store has the best deal? Explain. Pause the video and take a minute to answer this problem. When you're finished, come back to the video. One way we can determine the best deal is to figure out how much it costs for one apple at each store. So make sure you're writing with me if you don't already have this down. So I know grocery store A is 50 cents per apple. Okay, they already told us how much it costs for one apple. Grocery store B was $8 for 4 apples. We'll talk about this more in a minute, but to figure out the price for one apple, we're just going to divide. $8 split up over 4 apples is $2 per apple. Remember, you can always pause if you need more time. And then grocery store C, we have $6 for 6 apples. And 6 divided by 6 is 1, meaning it costs $1 per apple at grocery store C. So think to yourself, would you rather pay 50 cents per apple, $2 per apple, or $1 per apple? When we're shopping, we want to find the cheapest price or the best deal. And in this case, grocery store A is the cheapest at 50 cents per apple. Remember, you can always pause if you need more time. All right, let's take a look at our notes. Make sure to write what I'm writing. Our first note is unit rate is a comparison of quantities where one of the quantities is 1. In our opening problem, we were looking for the cost of 1 apple. Note number 2, and this is something you should just memorize, the fraction line means divide. And we also practiced that in our opening problem. So to find the unit rate, just like we did in the opening, we are going to divide. And now here's a really important tip. Look at what the question is asking for one of. In our opening problem, we were looking for the price of 1 apple. So apple was a second number we divided, or it was our denominator. So whatever you want one of will be your second number or your denominator when you divide. Now, finding the unit cost helps us determine the best deal. So this is an important life skill. You don't want to get ripped off when you go to the grocery store. Something might look like a good deal, but once you do the math, it's actually not. So unit cost helps us find the amount it costs per one. How much for one? That's really the key point for today. So most of the time, when we're trying to find the cost per one, money will be our dividend or our numerator when we divide. Just like in our apples example, money went on top because we're trying to figure out the cost per item or the cost per apple. And then just one other tip. Remember, money always rounds to the hundredths place or 2 numbers after the decimal. So if you ever got an answer like this, okay, if we're talking about money, you wouldn't just write 12.5 or 12 and 5 tenths. You would write $12.50. You can just add a 0 to the end. 2 numbers after the decimal, hundredths place. Okay, I'm going to do example A with you and then have you practice example B on your own. Examples A says, Eric paid $18 for 3 books. What is the cost per book? So this question is asking how much it costs for one book. So since that's what we want one of, when we divide, books is going to be on our denominator. It's going to be our second number when we divide. So we have $18 for 3 books. 18 divided by 3, remember the fraction line means divide, is $6 per book. That is our unit cost, how much it costs for one book. Pause the video and complete example B on your own. Example B says, Azim answered 40 problems in 4 minutes. How many problems did he answer per minute? So we're looking for how many problems for 1 minute. So minutes is going to be our second number when we divide. And we'll do 40 problems divided by 4 minutes, which is 10 problems per minute. Make sure you have this down. Pause the video if you need more time. Example C says, which is a better deal? Provide evidence to support your answer. 36 cookies for $5.40 or 18 cookies for $2.52. So when we want to figure out the better deal, we're going to figure out the cost per item, or in this case, the cost per cookie. So for store A, make sure you're writing with me. We're going to write $5.40 divided by 36 cookies. And when I divide $5.40 by 36, I get 15 cents per cookie. I'm just going to circle my answer there. Pause the video and figure out the unit cost for store B. So for store B, we should do $2.52 for 18 cookies. And 252 divided by 18 is 14 hundredths or 14 cents per cookie. And then you want to ask yourself, would you rather pay 15 cents per cookie or 14 cents per cookie? Well, I'd rather have the cheaper option. So store B is the better deal. Because one cookie is cheaper by 1 cent. Okay, 15 cents is 1 cent more than 14 cents. You could also just subtract these to figure that out. So go ahead and pause the video and then complete example D on your own. Pause the video, check your work for example D, fix any errors, and then flip the page to page 2. I'm going to do one example with you on page number 2 and then have you practice the rest of the page on your own. At the top of page number 2, you can see a couple notes to help you. Number 1, don't forget the fraction line means divide. So this means $50 divided by 10 hours, which tells us the unit rate or the unit cost of $5 per hour. So whatever you want one of will be the second number when you divide. Let's take a look at A. If Tatiana ran 400 miles in 50 days, how many miles did she run in 1 day? Pause the video, complete this problem, and then come back. So we're looking for how many miles she went in one day. So that means that these 50 days, when we divide, that will be our denominator. I'm going to do 400 miles divided by 50 days. And 400 divided by 50 is 8. So that means our unit rate is 8 miles per day. So I'm going to circle my answer. And then I'm going to write a sentence for my answer over here. Tatiana ran 8 miles per day. Make sure you have this down. Complete the rest of page 2, and then come back to the video for page 3. All right, let's take a look at problem A on page 3. Then you'll complete the rest of the page on your own. It says Corlin ran 154 miles in 7 minutes. How many miles did she run in 1 minute? So in this problem, they're asking for how far in 1 minute. So that means minutes are going to be my denominator when I divide. So I'm going to do 154 miles divided by 7 minutes. And 154 divided by 7 is 22. So our unit rate is 22 miles per minute. I'm going to circle my answer over here, and then I'm going to write a complete sentence answering the question under here. Make sure you have this down. Pause the video if you need more time. Complete the rest of page 3, and then come back once you get to page 4. All right, let's take a look at page 4. I'm going to work with you on A and B, and then I'm going to have you complete the rest of page 4 and page 5 on your own. A says, which is a better deal? Provide evidence to support your answer. Store A has chairs sold at $300 for 6, and store B sells them at $400 for 10. So the first thing we need to do is just label on our paper store A and store B. Make sure you're writing with me. All right, and when we're comparing our unit costs, remember that's one of our learning targets. We need to find the cost for one chair at each store. So in store A, it's $300 for 6. We want to know the cost of one chair. So we can write $300 divided by 6 chairs. And 300 divided by 6 is 50. So at store A, it's $50 per chair. And you could write one chair, but since it's just singular, it doesn't have an S on the end, you can just also leave it as $50 per chair like this. Pause the video and find the unit cost for store B. For store B, we're going to do $400 for 10 chairs, and 400 divided by 10 is 40. So at store B, it's $40 per chair. And so then you'll ask yourself, what would you rather buy, a chair for $40 or $50? Well, we want the cheaper option. So that's store B. So we have these sentence starters up here to help us. We're going to write store B is the better deal because one chair is cheaper by, well, 50 minus 40 is 10. Store B sells it for $10 less. Pause the video, complete problem B on your own, and then come back to check your work. All right, for problem B, remember money almost always will go on our numerator when we divide and we're finding the unit cost. So we have $18 divided by 6 fruit. For Wally's, you should have gotten $3 per fruit. For Sally's, you should have gotten $4 per fruit. And so in your sentence starters, you can write Wally's is the better deal because one piece of fruit is cheaper by $1. 3 is 1 less than 4. Go ahead and complete the rest of page 4 and then page 5, and then come back to the video. Okay, on page 6, we have a common misconception problem. Please pause the video and complete this problem on your own. This problem says a box of fruit costs $12.50 for 5 packs at store A. At store B, it's $22 for 8 packs. Which store has the better deal? So let's go ahead and check our work for this problem. For store A, you should have gotten $2.50 per pack of snacks. For store B, $2.75 per pack of snacks. And just a quick note for store A, if you just wrote 2.5, add a 0 to that because remember, money always goes to the hundreds place. And so store A has a better deal because 1 pack of fruit snacks is cheaper by 25 cents. All right, let's finish off our lesson with our closing problem. It says, at a store, there is a deal where you can buy 8 games for $120. Determine if each statement has the same unit rate or a different unit rate. Check for each box to indicate same unit rate or different unit rate. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out what is the unit rate of this original statement. 8 games for $120. Well, I can do 120 divided by 8 games. Make sure you're writing with me. And 120 divided by 8 equals $15 per game. Whoops. There we go. So now we need to find the unit rate of each of these. So pause the video and find the unit rate for each of these statements. And if it's $15, check same unit rate. If it's not $15, put a check next to different unit rate. Once you've done that for these 4 statements, come back to the video. Okay, so for the first statement, 60 divided by 6 is 10. So 10 is not the same as our original unit rate 15. So for the first box, you should have checked different unit rate. Pause the video, check your work for the rest of these, and then come back to the video. To close out today's lesson, we're going to answer a couple debrief questions. The first one, take a minute and write, what did you learn today in your own words? Feel free to look back at pages you worked on, look back at our learning targets. Then, how much effort did you put in during class? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and explain. And then, what do you think is a common misconception or a common mistake that students might make when they're learning about unit rate or unit cost? Once you've answered these 3 questions, you're going to go back to page 1 and rate yourself after the learning target. If you remember at the beginning of this lesson, we rated ourselves 1 through 5, how confident we felt about these learning targets. Now that we've gotten some more practice in, go ahead and rate yourself after the lesson. Thank you for joining Middle Math Academy. Like I said at the beginning, if you're interested in any more unit rate or unit price lessons, We have levels 2 through 5 available. And then we also have 5 more self-paced lessons on rates. Thank you for joining us today and have a great day.